Good morning, and thanks for joining us on this Black Friday. I'm Jessica Layton. Joe and Savannah are off today. We begin this morning in Washington, D.C. with the tragic news that one of the two National Guard members shot near the White House on Wednesday has died. President Trump announced the death of 20-year-old West Virginia National Guard member Sarah Beckstrom yesterday during his Thanksgiving Day call to U.S. troops.
She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person, outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life.
President Trump referring, of course, to the other West Virginia National Guard member, 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, who you can see there on the right. He remains in critical condition this morning. Officials say they are investigating this shooting as a possible terrorist attack. The suspect, who's facing multiple charges, is an Afghan national who worked with U.S. forces during the war in Afghanistan. A source familiar with the case and a separate law enforcement source tell NBC News that he entered the country during the Biden administration and was granted asylum under the Trump administration earlier this year. Now, in a post on Truth Social last night, President Trump railed against immigration policy under President Biden and said he will now, quote, permanently pause migration from all third world countries. With all of this, NBC News Chief Justice and National Affairs Correspondent Kelly O'Donnell joins me now with the very latest. Kelly, good morning. What more are we learning about these two National Guard members who were shot?
Good morning, Jessica. It was quite jarring as we watched the president's remarks last night because he provided the very first public notification of the death of Sarah Beckstrom. We understand that her family was at her side when she passed away at age 20, a member of the West Virginia National Guard. She had been deployed in Washington, D.C. since August, and according to officials, she and Andrew Wolf both volunteered to work during the Thanksgiving holiday so that others could be with their families. The president was asked if he plans to attend any funeral services for Beckstrom, and he said he would be open to that. We also understand the governor of West Virginia had been able to visit with both families and both of the soldiers prior to Beckstrom's passing. Obviously, it was stunning news, and yet we had been prepared by officials about the gravity of the injuries to these two soldiers in the attack on Wednesday. And Beckstrom, her family said that they had been around her and that they had recognized the severity of the wound in advance, and obviously our hearts go out to them. This also means there is an expectation of additional charges against the suspect because of the passing of Sarah Beckstrom. The U.S. attorney in the Washington, D.C. area had already forecast that if there were any change in their conditions, additional charges would be forthcoming. Jessica?
Yeah, that's right. She did say she had no hesitation to upgrade that charge to murder one if either of them passed away. Kelly, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro also said yesterday that the suspect lived in Washington state with his wife and his 5 children. What else do we know about his history?
Well, we believe, according to authorities, that he drove across the country to come to Washington, D.C. to carry out this attack. He had a history of working with the United States in Afghanistan, and that is what brought about his availability to come to the United States. He was assigned to a unit that worked with CIA officers in the country and did that for a number of years. So he was known to the United States during that period of time. Because of his service, he and many others, more than 70,000 Afghans who were working alongside U.S. forces for the longest war in U.S. history, were given permission to come to the United States. That did happen under the Biden administration. And then because of his status in that category, the process moving toward citizenship was in play. And in April of this year, under the Trump administration, he was granted asylum. Now, the Trump White House says that that was a requirement, because once he was in through the Biden administration, the process moved forward, and therefore they are rejecting that it was their decision to give him asylum, but saying this is all because of the Biden era policies. So there is certainly a history on the suspect known to the U.S. because of his time in Afghanistan working with them. And also the officials said he had been vetted prior to coming to the United States. Jessica?
Kelly, you're reporting in West Palm Beach, where the president spent Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago. Can you tell us more about how he is responding to this attack? We know that he has said a lot about immigration policy so far. What else is he saying about this specific ambush?
Well, the president said he is calling up mobilizing an additional 500 guardsmen. He's ordered Pete Hegseth to take that step. He said he wants more guardsmen in Washington, D.C. He was asked if he had any thoughts about changing that policy after this attack, and he said no, he wants more. So we await to hear details on that. There are already about 2,100 guardsmen from various different companies that have come to the Capitol to provide that additional policing and security support. The president also posted about permanently pausing, which is sort of inherently contradictory, the immigration of anyone coming from what he deems third world countries. Also unclear what that definition is. He's also talked about wanting to have a screening of all Afghans coming to the country, and also reviewing green cards for any persons who have come in as immigrants from 19 countries that are listed as countries of concern. Jessica?
Kelly O'Donnell reporting for us this morning. Thanks so much. We want to continue this conversation now with Steve Warren. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel and former senior military advisor to the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs, and also a former top spokesperson at the Pentagon. Colonel, good morning. Thanks for being here with us. As we mentioned already, the suspect is an Afghan national. His relatives and the CIA say that he worked with U.S. forces during the war in Afghanistan. I wonder what your reaction is to seeing a shooting like this, where the suspect was someone who served alongside U.S. troops who, in theory, they trusted.
Yeah, well, it's tragic, and thank you for having me on this morning, Jessica. It is truly tragic, and it's something that we hate to see. Specialist Beckstrom and her family are suffering right now, right over Thanksgiving too. So our hearts are really collectively broken. We see this isn't completely foreign to us, however. Throughout the duration of our combat activities in Afghanistan, we occasionally ran into situations where the translators or our partners in the Afghan military would turn their weapons on American soldiers. In fact, we started a program halfway through that war called the Guardian Angels program, which required that in any group of American soldiers, there was always one who kept an eye on our Afghan partners.
President Trump says he has ordered the re-examination of all those who entered the U.S. from Afghanistan during the Biden administration. Also, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the suspect came under the Operation Allies Welcome program, which we also know is a Biden-era program that supports vulnerable Afghans and those who worked alongside U.S. forces to safely resettle here in the U.S. So is there a concern this morning that the actions that the Trump White House may take over the next few days in response could actually harm those that the program relies on?
There's certainly a risk of that, as whenever there is a broad sweeping action against many or targeted at many thousands of people, there's always a risk that someone who does not deserve or who should be treated one way, who should be treated well, is treated badly, whether it's through bad information or any other number of reasons. So there's always risk. It's certainly understandable that there's a renewed desire to conduct a rescreening of all of the Afghans and others who have come in to the country over the years. What I'll say, though, is we have often screened, or the word we're using now is vetted. We've often vetted these local nationals. And what I'll say is that vetting is an imprecise science. It's not exact. So particularly from some of these nations that don't, these countries that don't have extensive databases, they're not highly digitized, vetting becomes a very, complicated and often incomplete activity.
Let's continue that conversation about vetting. Colonel, talk to us about working with locals and foreign national during the wartime. How does that recruitment process work? How important are they to us in the U.S. war effort? And does vetting need to change based on this tragedy in D.C.?
These are all great questions. I'll tell you, the American military has a very long history of working with local nationals, dating back even to the Revolution. Think use of indigenous or Native American scouts in the West. Think collaboration with the French resistance during World War II. Think Green Berets and U.S. Special Forces working with Montagnard tribesmen in Vietnam. So this is something that the American military has done really throughout its history, and it's something that we are very comfortable doing. It's key and critical that we work with locals anywhere we are so that we can understand the local terrain, understand where the enemy is, understand everything, including just the language. Often we'll employ the local nationals just as translators so we can get through the day. So they're very important. They're something that have always been part of how the American Army fights. Vetting is as I mentioned earlier, the vetting process is something that's ever evolving. As we build databases in the Middle East, which we've done now for 20 years, we have some reference points where we can find someone who maybe they did something bad years ago. We have those data points. What we can't know is if someone is radicalized after they came into the United States. That's much more difficult to determine.
And a lot more questions there to be answered, but we'll leave it there for now. Colonel Steve Warren, thanks so much today. Well, today kicks off one of the biggest shopping days of the year. It's, of course, Black Friday, but experts say the days of 4 a.m. doorbuster sales are gone. Now more people are shopping from home and earlier, as a lot of retailers rolled out holiday discounts as early as October. It has some of us asking, are today's deals really still the best ones? NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung explains.
The deals used to be so good, the discount devoted would blow down the doors at the mall. But these days, shoppers are taking a more docile approach to checking off their gift lists.
What happens to camping out at a store to get a really good price?
What happened to 50-70% off everything?
Retailers like Walmart advertising Black Friday sales that started, days before Black Friday.
Walmart Black Friday deals are online.
Black Friday is no longer a 4-day event. Everyone started their consumer spending as early as October for holidays.
Has that kind of watered down the impact of Black Friday itself?
Yes, I think it's watered down. However, it is still a staple of the holiday season, and we do expect strong discounts heading into Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Nearly half of shoppers said they plan to start shopping before Halloween. Some already done crossing names off their lists.
Anybody else like me out there started their Christmas shopping super early?
Shoppers still expected to spend big. The National Retail Federation says Black Friday remains the most popular day to shop, expected to reel in over 130 million shoppers. As Adobe Analytics says, shoppers will also click and tap their way to an expected $11.7 billion with the best deals of the year for categories like TVs, toys, and appliances. Meaning these days in 2025, no need to brawl to bring in that holiday haul. Brian Chung, NBC News.
Okay, so if you do plan on doing some Black Friday shopping today, experts say you need to be on the lookout for these alleged fake discounts. Researchers at Consumers Checkbook, that's a nonprofit that independently rates goods and services, tracked several products at dozens of retailers for 6 months. Their goal was to see if the advertised sale prices were truly a good deal. Researchers say they discovered nearly all retailers use fake sales to try to mislead their customers. Editor-in-chief of Investopedia, Caleb Silver, joins me now with more on this. He's also the chief business officer at People Inc. Caleb, good morning. This is eye-opening, and I'm wondering if I've been taken. Walk me through how this works. What makes the advertised sale prices or discounts misleading?
Yeah, we've all been taken by this. And this is the oldest and dirtiest trick in retail when they say half off or half off of our list price. Well, what's the list price? Retailers don't really give you a broad definition of what the list price is or what it should be. They can just tell you that they're giving you a discount. So as you mentioned, Checkbook Research surveying 25 retailers over 6 months. But they've done this in the past, 2015, 2018, and 2022. And it keeps getting worse because there's more retailers giving you sort of fake discounts or half off the listed price or special only this week, but they don't actually tell you what that's based on. And while the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has some rules that sort of outlaw this, they don't police this very well. So we've all been sort of taken by this by most retailers surveyed by Checkbook.
So how are the retailers able to do this and still get away with it?
Because it's not really policed. And when you go around from retailer to retailer and you say, well, across the street, they're charging me $25 for this, but you're charging me $28. Why? It's really up to the retailer. There is a broad definition for the FTC saying, well, you have to actually keep it within formal price comparison. So it actually has to match up with other retailers. But again, they do not police this. There used to be something called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that maybe you could go to about situations like this, or the Better Business Bureau, but this is not a crime per se that they're actually out there enforcing. So it's buyer beware, especially on days like today, one of the biggest shopping days of the year.
So who that you've seen do we really need to be aware of? Who are some of the biggest offenders offering these so-called fake discounts?
Now, Checkbook has a very extensive list of some of the most popular retailers, everybody from Bass Pro Shops to Bed Bath & Beyond, Michaels, Wayfair, Old Navy. Even there are some retailers that they say are borderline, like Walmart is pretty good about giving you the actual price or giving you the actual listed price they're discounting from. On the good side of things, they say companies like Apple, Costco, and Dell have been most favorable towards consumers about being transparent about those prices. But basically, every major retailer does this to a certain degree. It's just a question of degree. And as a shopper, you can be a little bit smarter than those retailers because there's lots of tools out there to help you comparison shop.
And give us one line on what I can do today to make sure I'm getting the best deal.
Yeah, well, you can use AI because that's what a lot of these retailers are using. So Vetted is good for that. PriceScout.ai is good for that. PayPal's Honey is also good for that. You can be a smarter shopper going in, and a lot of people do their research online. Then they go into the store to make the purchase, but they can comparison shop before they actually throw that credit card down.
All good tips for me and millions of others. Caleb Silver, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Time now for the weather and how it could impact your holiday weekend plans. Meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now with a look at the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Good morning. A busy Black Friday. Indeed, we're going to see some of these kind of travel troubles likely unfold here as the day goes on. And you can see we've got plenty of winter alerts stretching from essentially out west all the way across the Midwest and even including parts of the Northeast. We're going to see basically all of this snow kind of spread across the plains today. That's going to be the hot spot where we see the busiest kind of weather. We'll see this kind of low pressure system developing near the Rockies and bringing us those really strong wind gusts. So that's going to be one of our biggest concerns, the whiteout conditions that are going to be across parts of the plains. Stretching down to Omaha, you'll see some of that snow as well. And then this system intensifies as it moves east. We're going to see it move out of the plains, impacting folks across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and even parts of the South. We'll see some of that rain. The snow is going to cause delays. We'll see anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches per hour. So again, the travel is going to be difficult for some spots here as we get into the day tomorrow. And then the snow and rain work across the Northeast. That system is a little bit of a slow mover, so we'll see it kind of work through as Sunday goes on. The lingering snow and in the Midwest will last, but so will the rain across parts of the East Coast. But when it comes to the snow, some really impressive amounts. Notice downwind of the lakes on the west side of Michigan and northern portions of Indiana. You could see up to a foot of snow in some spots. Places just north of Des Moines, you could receive up to a foot of snow. So some really impressive snowfall totals. And of course, travel is going to be difficult because of that. The big picture look today, not all bad news. We've got some good news as well when it comes to the weather. Temperatures into the low 40s across parts of the East Coast and a whole lot of sunshine really really for most of the country, except those snow showers for the interior Northeast and those snowy roads you'll have to deal with across parts of the plains and the Pacific Northwest. The airports I would watch today, Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, and Portland. And then when it comes to the roads, those same kind of locations are going to see maybe some difficulty, but I'd add in some dense fog in the valley in California. Otherwise, Michigan to New England, you'll deal with some of that lake effect snow. And then big picture look for your Saturday. That's when things really ramp up. This is going to be a difficult travel day, really probably the most difficult of the upcoming weekend. And those impacts will range across the Great Lakes, stretching down to the south. Plenty of sunshine out west and a whole lot of sunshine across the east. So those locations, not going to see a lot of difficulty on the roads and at the airports. When we look ahead to the airports for Saturday, though, Minneapolis, Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, those are going to be the spots to really keep a close eye on. And we'll see the roads be difficult in that region as well. Notice Sunday, it's the east for the travel impacts, but otherwise out west just dealing with a bit of rocky snow. So maybe some delays for Salt Lake City and Denver. Back to you.
All right, Angie Lastman, thank you.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.